My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this episode I'm on home territory in the west of England in North Somerset on the Gordano Round path. My start point is All Saints Church in my hometown of Clevedon. Postcode BS21 6AY, grid reference ST41707182. What 3 words? Loved songs online. I cross Clevedon via its highest point, Dial Hill. Then I turn northeastwards along the coast path all the way to Portishead, as far as the lake grounds, where I turn back inland, cut through Portishead and then cross the Gordano Valley. I make the first of a number of crossings of the M5 motorway and head up onto Failand. I go over Windmill Hill and along Clapton Lane and as far as Abbots Leigh before turning back westward. I visit Abbots Pool and go over Failand Hill and continue back westward until I've completed the eastern end of the figure of 8. I then recross the M5 again, revisit Clapton-in-Gordano, continue along Clapton Lane, recrossing the M5 once more to take Cadbury Camp Lane until the final crossing of the M5, which takes me to the final leg through Courtwoods and back to All Saints Church. Total distance 44.3 kilometres, total height gain 890 metres, total walking time 12 hours and 47 minutes. I'm joining the Gordano Round here at the very beautiful All Saints Church in East Clevedon. Obviously you can join anywhere. I normally do a bit of a roundup on what sort of parking is available, but the Gordano Round is a little bit different to what I normally walk. Loads of it goes near roads. There's plenty of parking anywhere around where there's a road where you want to join, so I'm not going to bother with that today. We're at Dial Hill. One of the features of this walk, being around typical English countryside, is cricket grounds. And here is cricket ground number 1, Clevedon Cricket Club. On a Saturday or Sunday in summer there'll always be a game on here later on in the day. Dog walkers at the moment. There's only one trig point on this route. Top of Dial Hill, Clevedon, 90 metres. When I was a kid I thought it was the biggest hill in the world ever, until I went and found some bigger ones. But I've got a soft spot for it and I come and visit it regularly. Great view over Yo Moor in the background there, over to the Mendix. Great spot. Heading down towards the sea now, we can see the Immaculate Conception Church, and behind it our first glimpse of Clevedon's very famous pier. This is likely the best view of Clevedon Pier that I can get on the route. Listed, Victorian, jewel of the town really. I'm onto the coast path now. This is Lady Bay as we're leaving Clevedon, one of a number of little inlets along the path. As we head along the coast path, we're looking at the second Severn crossing, and beyond it the original Severn Bridge. As you walk it in summer, as I'm doing, your problem might be the overgrown vegetation. I'm wearing long trousers to make sure I don't get stung, and I'm obviously in great danger of ticks as well. Here we can see Sharkham Caravan Park. Looking out over the channel. Big boxy white ship there. And then over in Wales, Llanwern Steelworks. There is an excellent memorial here to Jim Dyer, who was the creator of the Gordano Round. Up and down the country there are thousands of volunteers like Jim who work diligently to create and preserve and look after the footpaths that we enjoy. So this is a great opportunity for me to say thank you, Jim, and thank you to all those volunteers. We really appreciate your work. From this part of the route you'll often see ships sailing up the channel towards Avonmouth. Not particularly prepossessing looking ships, but ships nonetheless. This is the landmark that tells us that we've reached Portishead. It may be white, but it's called Black Nor Lighthouse. Towards the Portishead end of the coast path, there's lots of this nice shaded pathway. We get a lot of dog walkers along here as we're coming into built up area again, and that keeps the path nice and clear as well, most of the way at least. We're definitely in Portishead now. This is Kilkenny Fields. There's a car park here which I'm stood in, picnic tables, great view, really good spot for joining the Gordano Round. We're passing Portishead Lake grounds now, down there between the trees, cricket ground number 2. On a Saturday in summer, there'll always be a game on down there. I'm walking along Slade Road in Portishead now. As anybody who's ever tried to navigate through a town with an Ordnance Survey map will tell you, it's really not simple. So if you're planning to do this part of the route, my advice, print off a town plan from Google Maps and use that. We're in the Gordano Valley now. Right now we're just by North Western, just outside Portishead. You can see the M5 on the hill the other side there, which we will cross repeatedly later. And then here we've got Western Big Wood, and you need to take a bit of care with your navigation here. Easy to get lost at this point. I'm on the Clevedon to Portishead road in the Gordano Valley at the lay-by just before North Western. The Ordnance Survey map suggests that the public footpath goes through this gate here, but the Ordnance Survey map is wrong, and I expect the people here are probably a bit sick of people trying to climb their gate. What you actually need to do is carry on a bit further down, and there's a vehicle track off to the right. Heading further down the road towards North Western, we come to this vehicle track on the right, which heads down to, as the sign says here, Howham Farm. And this is actually the public footpath. We can see the sign there. Head on down towards the farm. Path heads off to the right. Through the gate. There's the sign. And then turning around to the left, enjoying a wonderful view of the Gordano Valley. And the path goes down to the right of the farm. We're in Clapton-in-Gordano now, and you don't get much better example than this of a classic British country pub, the Black Horse. Well known locally, very popular. Not much of a drinker myself, but a good place to start or end your walk, particularly if you want a pint afterwards. Climbing up Nash Hill now, towards the motorway bridge. I would normally skip this part of the route because it's a narrow two-way road. People do, as they do everywhere, hair up and down it far too fast. There's not much verge to escape onto, particularly if, like me, you're getting on a bit and out of breath, so it's dangerous. As you get towards the top of this climb, the Ordnance Survey map has a path splitting off on the left, which cuts across the field up here. Takes you to join the main path from the road. I've looked for it a number of times. If it's there, it's very, very well hidden. So if you can't find it, you have to walk along this part. And you can see just here what my chances are of getting off the road in a hurry if I need to. Thankfully I'm off the road now. Great view here across the Bristol Channel to Wales, Portishead in the foreground there. Just coming past the newly installed Hinkley C connection pylons, which go down to Avonmouth, and I'm going to be heading that way towards Failand and Abbots Leigh. And this is where the Gordano Round crosses over itself, so I'll be coming back this way later. This is the point in the middle of the figure 8. There are a couple of areas like this up on Failand, basically meadow with all the spring flowers out. Absolutely beautiful. I'm at Charlton Farm. I've been here many times, but I've never seen this before. This is new. Absolutely beautiful tree carving, celebrating the local wildlife. Huge credit to whoever created this. It really is a thing of beauty. I'm now walking through the Downs School, fee-paying private school. The Gordano Round cuts right through it and across its sports field. It's public right of way, so everyone is allowed to walk it. I've had people here in the past trying to tell me that's not the case. And if that happens to you, tell them they don't have the right to tell you that. I'm just going past this rather spooky abandoned house. The whole area has an air of abandonment, extremely overgrown. Nettles up to neck height here, so a great deal of care needs to be taken. A little navigation note, because lots of people make this mistake, including the scouts, every time I bring them up here. I've just crossed Portbury Lane, climbed the little incline the other side, and it brings me onto this concrete track. And I get up here, the concrete track swings around to the right, and the public footpath sign points that way as well. But the path actually goes up the edge of this field. So don't follow that concrete road, follow the hedge. Walking through the woods on the top of Windmill Hill. There are an awful lot of really beautiful managed tree plantations on Failand, and this is one of them. These trees are absolutely huge. Coming out of the other side of the woods on Windmill Hill, possibly my favourite view on the whole route. Looking east towards Bristol, coming round past Avonmouth with the second Severn crossing in the background, and a view across the channel to Wales. Coming towards the far end of Happerton Lane now, where we've got some buildings and a bit of civilization, and a turn off that people almost always miss. Certainly the scouts do when I bring them down here. So just by this ornate wooden gate here, we want to go off to the right. This part of the route takes us along the Pill Road, which is the main link road from the M5 to the western edge of Bristol. So it is insanely busy. We've got a nice wide pavement at least, but we do have to watch out for cyclists because they use it as well. They'll come down, particularly if they're coming downhill, very fast here, so it's worth keeping in to the side. I'm near Abbots Pool now. The actual pool is a bit further up, above where that waterfall is coming down from. But the route doesn't actually go to it, it comes past it. But we do get to see this nice succession of falls and streams. The path passes over this rather picturesque stone bridge. Heading for another of my favourite parts of the route, Scutches Plantation. Another of the many managed tree plantations on Failand. A very beautiful one in my opinion. It's an oval-shaped plantation, and the footpath cuts right through the centre of it. And as with all the managed plantations, the trees are absolutely huge. I'm on the top of Failand now. Because of the summer overgrowth, most of the views are blocked. But just along here you come to a gate, you can see over the top of it, you can see once again across the channel to Wales, you see Avonmouth in the foreground and the second Severn crossing just behind it. I'm just heading towards Oxhouse Bottom. There's a lovely pond here with a well placed seat. Be a good spot to stop, take the weight off for a bit. I'm heading that way. We're in early summer right now. This part of the route is always a bit boggy, and in the winter usually impassable. It requires a bit of careful navigation around here. After the boggy bit, turn left, which takes you over the little stream. There's some sort of culvert that runs under the path. And then a little further on, when you've just come over a little hump, there's a small rickety bridge across a branch off that stream. Cross that, and when you've done so, turn right. A little way further on, keep an eye out for a path branching off to your left. So if you go straight on, you're following the stream. If you go left, going steeply uphill, and that's where we want to go if we're following the Gordano Round. Here I am at cricket ground number 3, Failand. And I have in the past sat and watched a few overs while going round the Gordano Round. Nothing happening today though. The Gordano Round runs right along the boundary, and as you can see, there are a number of seats where you could sit and enjoy a sandwich while you catch a bit of cricket. Something to keep an eye out here. We're at a place called Horse Race. Unsurprisingly, a lot of horses here. Electrified fences to keep them in. Fortunately, the electrified bit is on the horse side of the fence, not the human side. We're going back past the Downs School again now, and into another managed tree plantation. Again, huge, tall, beautiful trees. I'm back round now to the centre point of the figure of 8, about to go back under the Hinkley Sea connection lines. So I've cracked the eastern end of the Gordano Round. Just got to finish off the western end now. Coming out of Parsonage Wood, another fantastic view, again across the channel to Wales. In the foreground, Portishead, and right down here in front of me, the M5, around which the Gordano Round winds quite closely from here on. Heading downhill from Glennywood Scout Camp towards Clapton-in-Gordano. On this occasion we go under the motorway. The Gordano Round is not an absolutely strict figure of 8, because it actually meets in the middle in 2 places. So here I'm back in Clapton-in-Gordano again, and here's the Black Horse. We have to walk a little way along the road towards Clevedon, but then a couple of 100 metres along we go off onto a handy footpath. As we drop down onto the road towards Clevedon again, we come to the main genuine historic monument on the route, which is Clapton Court. Not, as far as I know, open to visitors, so I won't be going beyond this gate. Walking along parallel to the M5 now, in the fields just below it. I can't imagine that the air here is particularly safe to breathe. Just before you get to the motorway bridge, electrified fence, touchable by pedestrians on a very narrow path. This is the second to last motorway crossing, which is also a very steep climb. Another historical monument. It's a classic Iron Age hill fort with ringed concentric ramparts. It's not hard to see why they put it here when you carry on round and look at the view. The final motorway crossing. Looking down to Avonmouth that way. And Clevedon that way. This is another of my favourite spots on the route. I like to call this Nature's Cathedral. It's at the eastern end of Court Woods. Looks different at different times of the year, but always looks amazing. I've just passed the keeper's cottage in Court Woods, which I haven't filmed because it's someone's house, and then broken off on the right of the path to find this seat. And the reason the seat is here because of this view. Fantastic view of the Gordano Valley. I'm now getting towards the western end of Court Woods. This is full of paths that go all over the place. We're looking to come out at All Saints Church, where we started from. So certainly when you reach this path junction, you need to go left. And I would generally tend to the left while keeping the sound of the motorway on my left. Further than that, it's hard to describe. Obviously, nature grows, changes all the time. So things don't look the same from year to year or even from season to season. So that's the best advice I can give you. I'm coming down the last bit of the path at the western end of Court Woods now. Around the corner. Here's the stile. And here we are. Back at All Saints Church, where we started. So here I am, outside the church, Gordano Round completed. Don't know how many times I've done it, 4 or 5 maybe. Consider it my home path, so difficult to rate it really. In terms of difficulty, the only difficulty is the length. So you're looking at about 30 miles if I go from home. So that makes it quite hard. but there's nothing else difficult about it. It's a walk through beautiful countryside and along a coast path, really. Obviously you don't have to walk the whole 30 miles. Plenty of places you can join it and leave it, so you can cut it down bits to suit you. But to me it's home, so difficult to judge it. I'm not even going to try. Just recommend that you go out and give it a shot. All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS Online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co. These videos are designed to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are not designed to be any kind of hill walking training or guidance. If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks without appropriate levels of fitness and equipment. If you don't have the required levels of knowledge and experience, only undertake them accompanied by somebody who does. You can find out more about me and my background and experience at my website, paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.